We'll start from uniaxial mineral. Uniaxial mineral are those mineral which have one optic axis. So mostly in anisotropic mineral, the anisotropic mineral achanti, they can be divided into two types. Anisotropic mineral are data type divided into one which uniaxial, another is your biaxial. So uniaxial mineral जो हमारा achanti, they have one optic axis. Biaxial has two optic axis. So uniaxial mineral are those anisotropic mineral. They are anisotropic mineral having one optic axis. So uniaxial mineral or anisotropic mineral କହିପାରିବ ତାଙ୍କର ଗୋଟେ optic axis ଅଛି. They are crystallized in tetragonal and hexagonal system. तो जो भी मिनरल तुम्हारे टेट्रागोनल हेक्सागोनल सिस्टम में क्रिस्टलाइज करे they all are uniaxial. So in tetragonal hexagonal system it has equal horizontal axes. यदि देखिए तुम्हारा in case of tetragonal hexagonal system tetragonal A1 equal to A2 not equal to C, horizontal axis समान, then it out असमान axis, then A1 is equal to A2 is equal to A3 not equal to C, so axis समान, the vertical axis is unequal. So it has two direction you can say, one along horizontal or basal plane, another the vertical. So any uniaxial mineral that is characterized by two unequal direction, theta unequal direction था. तबे दीटा डायरेक्शन तुम इनइक्वालिटी पाइबो गोटे होची तुमरा along the horizontal axis and along the vertical axis. So a thing तुमरा आगु रिक्वायरमेंट हो मन लगता दीटा अनइक्वल डायरेक्शन थाए. तो हमें पढ़थिले डबल रिफ्रैक्शन केस रे गोटे ऑर्डिनरी रे गोटे एक्सटर्नल रे डेवलप है इन केस ऑफ बायएक्सियल मिनरल, सॉरी यूनिएक्सियल मिनरल. गोटे ऑर्डिनरी रे गोटे एक्सटर्नल रे डेवलप है, गोटे ऑर्डिनरी रे बासल प्लेन रे वाइब्रेट करे आउ एक्सटर्नल रे वाइब्रेट इन द प्रिंसिपल प्लेन. Recall कर दूँगी. So what this is our this is an uniaxial mineral. So O ray it will vibrate in the basal section. It O ray vibrate करे and E ray vibrates in the principal section. So double refraction के लिए uniaxial mineral रे से दीटा ray को split करे. One ray is called as your ordinary ray, another is called as your external. Usually हम कहते fast ray or slow ray, but in case of uniaxial mineral it can be called as ordinary ray and external ray. So from the ordinary ray and external ray, anyone can be slow or fast. कोटा भी fast रह पारे, कोटा भी slow रह पारे, which is determined by optic sign. So we'll move to uniaxial optic sign. So the ordinary external ray तले travel करियो within an uniaxial mineral. So faster and slower will be determined by the optic sign. If a uniaxial mineral is optically positive, then it will indicate that the velocity of ordinary ray is greater than the velocity of external. And if it is negative, then velocity of external ray it is greater than velocity of ordinary ray. So velocity of ordinary ray velocity of external. ଯଦି velocity of ordinary ray ଅଧିକ ହେଲା ତାହେଲେ ପଜିଟିଭ ପାଇବ, velocity of external ray ଅଧିକ ହେଲେ नेगेटिव पाइब। यदि ମୁଁ କହୁଛି କୌଣସି uniaxial mineral it is positive, that means you know that in that mineral ordinary ray has a greater velocity than the external ray, or ordinary ray is the faster ray, jar velocity is the faster ray and external ray is the slower ray। ଆମେ ପଢିଥିଲେ ordinary ray ର wavefront ଆମର circle होतला, ordinary ର wavefront circle, external ର wavefront ଥିଲା ellipse। We can represent the optic sign in we can represent the optic sign graphically like this. If the circle like this, so this will indicate this is E ray, this is O ray. So here the circle is larger and ellipse is smaller. So it will indicate velocity of ordinary greater than velocity of external. So when the ellipse the velocity of ordinary greater than the velocity of extraordinary, that will indicate the ellipse is inside the circle. It will indicate positive condition. In this condition, you can say velocity of extraordinary ray, it is greater than velocity of ordinary ray. In this condition, the circle is inside the ellipse. So these are velocity figures for optic sign. Then comes to Uniaxial Indicatrix figure. This is also a type of figure which represents the refractive index direction. So refractive index direction, it is the vibration direction, you can say. ଯଦି ତୁମେ isotropic mineral consider କରୁଛ ତାର ସବୁ direction equal velocity, ତ isotropic ର ଗୋଟେ refractive index ହବ। In case of ତୁମର uniaxial mineral, it is characterized by two refractive index. So refractive index of ordinary ray, it is called as your omega. ଏଟାକୁ କ'ଣ indicate କରାଯାଏ omega ହିସାବରେ। The Ri of E ray, it is epsilon। ठीक ଅଛି। तो आमे जो कहउछंती गोटे रे अछि जदि कि भाइब्रेट करूछि in the basal section or it is vibrating in the peninsular section, that is its refractive index direction. So that कौन refractive index direction. जो डायरेक्शन है तुम्हारा रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स था ताकू परपेंडिकुलर करिकी रेटा प्रोपागेट करे. तो ସେଥିପାଇଁ ତୁମର RI it is inversely related to the velocity. RI is, you can say, refractive index is inversely related to velocity. Remember RI केमती calculate करंती. So RI of a substance is equal to velocity of light in air by velocity of light in the substance. जोड़ा calculate करंती. So RI it is inversely proportional to the velocity of the substance. तो जो velocity जहाँ थी वो तारा ठीक opposite होगा कौन मोरा refractive index. यदि in case of मोरा uniaxial mineral मैं कहले कि velocity of ordinary is greater than velocity of external हेले उची positive. यदि refractive index term में लिखिवा RI of ordinary ray is greater than RI of E ray, it will be negative. Because when ordinary ray is faster, जो टाइम रे ऑर्डिनरी रे फास्टर थिबो से टाइम रे ऑर्डिनरी रो रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स होची कम थिबो है ना. So that means omega greater than epsilon हेले negative and epsilon greater than omega हेले positive. So we can also represent the refractive index graphically. ताको कहा जाए uniaxial indicatrix. Uniaxial indicatrix. This is your epsilon. It is a refractive index of external ray. This is omega. So in this case, epsilon greater than omega. So when epsilon greater than omega, it is positive. And the shape of the uniaxial indicatrix figure, it is roulette. Parrot. Indicatrix means anything you have represent in terms of refractive index. आमे तले velocity अनुसार represent करले ताको velocity figure कोटले तले in terms of refractive index कोन से जिनसे represent करा जाए ताको indicatrix बोली कहते. This thing you consider circle. This is ellipse. Here omega, it is epsilon. So omega greater than epsilon. It is negative. The shape is oblate parrot. So remember prolate, P for positive. So epsilon greater than omega, it is positive, and shape is prolate parrot. And omega greater than epsilon is negative, shape is oblate parrot. The biaxial optics. In case of uniaxial, there are two unequal directions. Tetragonal hexagonal system. But in case of biaxial, they are crystallizing in orthorhombic, monoclinic, and triclinic. All of them have A is not equal to B, not equal to C. So optic axis will be two. The two optic axis. They have two optic axis. Then they crystallize in orthorhombic, monoclinic, and triclinic system. The two optic axis is like this. Suppose this is a mineral. The two optic axis will be like this. So this is one optic axis. This is another optic axis, and the angle between them is called as a 2V angle. So the angle between optic axis in biaxial mineral is called as optic axial angle, or you can say 2v. तो 2v गोटे साइड रे तुमर पॉजिटिव थाए, गोटे साइड रे एक्यूट थाए, गोटे साइड रे ऑब्ट्यूज थाए. 2v एतले हमें कोन से सपोज दिस मिनरल जदि हमें 2v रिप्रेजेंट करछन्ती, गोटे साइड एक्यूट तो गोटे साइड ऑब्ट्यूज थो. So sometimes they are perpendicular to each other also. गोटे केस रे खाली परपेंडिकुलर হবে, अदर केस रे गोटे साइड एक्यूट हो, गोटे साइड ऑब्ट्यूज हो. The 2v angle form. And biaxial mineral has three unequal directions, so it is characterized by three refractive index. So like uniaxial case they are represented by two refractive index, biaxial case they are represented by three refractive index, and isotropic they are represented by one refractive index. So that one of the important answer. So as they are represented by three refractive index, so in case of biaxial, they always represented through three refractive index, or they are always represented by refractive index. So it is velocity हिसाब रे हमें डिटरमाइन करबानी, एठी हमें ताको इंडिकेट्रिक्स हिसाब रे रिप्रेजेंट करबा बा रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स अनुसार रिप्रेजेंट करबा. So we will represent biaxial mineral through biaxial indicatrix. So biaxial indicatrix, where we represent the biaxial mineral with three refractive index, तीनटा refractive index represent कराते to Z, then X, then Y. तो जो गोटे मिनरल जो डायरेक्शन है तुम सबुठु अधिक रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स पाइबा, दैट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड एज Z. दैट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड एज Z, जो थ्रे की तुमरो Z सही डायरेक्शन रे द अमाउंट ऑफ रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स इट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड बाय गामा. इंटरमीडिएट को तुम्हें इंटरमीडिएट डायरेक्शन को y एक्सिस थ्रू रिप्रेजेंट करबा, एंड सही डायरेक्शन है रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स को बीटा को आ जाए, एंड x होची इन मिनिमम रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स और स्मॉलेस्ट रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स देखिए अल्फा को आ जाए, एंड इट इज अलोंग x एक्सिस. तो x y z axis are three refractive index direction in the biaxial mineral. जेहेतु तीनटा को डायरेक्शन रे अनइक्वल पाउछ, तो एवरा रिप्रेजेंट करा जाए थ्रू एलिप्स. थोड़ा कि इन केस ऑफ हमर यूनिएक्सियल केस रे हमें बासल सेक्शन रे सब डायरेक्शन रे इक्वल वाइब्रेशन पाउथले, से बासल सेक्शन रे हमें सर्कल देखु. बट इट इज सब जाक डायरेक्शन होचे अनइक्वल वाइब्रेशन, तो हम कोनो से सर्कल न देखि सब जाक एलिप्स रिप्रेजेंट करछ. So z axis direction ने सबठु लार्जर एलिप्स पाइबा, सेरा सबठु लार्जर इथे करा होचे, सेरा इंडिकेट करछ जे इट इज द लार्जेस्ट रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स डायरेक्शन. So that's why always alpha, sorry, gamma is greater than beta greater than alpha. तो गोटे मिनरल जोटा सबठु हाईएस्ट रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स डायरेक्शन हेतु ताकू नेम करा जिवो z axis और तार अमाउंट हेजो गामा. So in biaxial indicatrix we represent three direction, तीनटा डायरेक्शन में रिप्रेजेंट करले. तो होची तुम्हारा z x y. So you can say मैं को इमेजिन कर पारे एमती z होची लाइक टॉप टू बॉटम, ठीक है. x होची राइट टू लेफ्ट, y होची फ्रंट टू बैक. हां, गोटे एलिप्स एमती रहला, गोटे एलिप्स एमती रहला, आ गोटे एलिप्स एभा रहउची. हां, तीनटा एलिप्स नै कि तुम्हारा रिप्रेजेंट करा होची इंडिकेट्रिक्स. तो कोन दी बायएक्सियल इंडिकेट्रिक्स. अंडरस्टूड. Then comes to biaxial optic sign. केमते ऑप्टिक साइन डिटरमाइन करबा, केमते हम एलिप्स ड्रॉ करके रिप्रेजेंट करूचंती इंडिकेट्रिक्स को. एलिप्स रहला, this is z direction, this is x direction, and this is y direction. So now we can put the optic axis here. आम ऑप्टिक एक्सिस पुट कर तो सी this is one optic axis, this is another optic axis. So when you put the optic axis, it will bisect the indicatrix axis. This is z axis, this is x axis, this is y axis. So the x and z axis, they are bisected by optic axis, and x z plane, it is called as your optic axial plane. It is called as your optic axial plane because they contain the optic axis. ଟିକେ ଦେଖେଇ ଦଉଛି. This is z, this is x, this is x. This plane is called as the xz plane. On this plane you are representing optic axis, and the optic axis, that is the angle between the optic axis, it is bisected by z axis. The angle between the optic axis is always bisected by indicator's axis, that is z axis, or you can say x axis. So x axis or z axis से कौन करेगा optic axis रो angle को bisect करते हैं, तो आंकु को आ जाए bisectrix. z और x को कौन कहबो bisectrix तुम कह परिबो. तो दीटा कंडीशन आसीबो गोटे केस रे हम देखिबो. These are optic axis, one optic axis is another optic axis. In both the condition, it is y axis देखे नहीं कि चलिए ना देखे. In this condition, this is your 2v angle. Okay, so in both the condition you can see, in one case z is bisecting the acute angle, in another case z is bisecting the obtuse angle. Can I optic axis रे it acute है, it obtuse हो ना, बड़े change हो. This is obtuse, this is acute. So depend करे different mineral रो vary करिबो कोटा 2v angle केते अछि. तो जेतेबेले z, when z is bisecting the acute angle between optic axis, in that case the mineral is biaxially positive. Mineral कौन होगा biaxially positive. When z is bisecting the acute angle between the optic axis. Understood? When z is bisecting the acute angle between the optic axis, it is positive. So when z is bisecting, in the same condition, x will bisect the obtuse angle. x क्या को bisect करियो obtuse angle. जो टाइम रे z acute को bisect करछ माने x will bisect the obtuse. In that case, it is also positive. So this is the case of positive. So in short form, we write down like this: z, if z is bxa or x is bxo, a stand for acute, o stand for obtuse, a ପାଇଁ होची acute, o ପାଇଁ obtuse, bx for bisectrix. So if z is acute bisectrix, then positive. If x is obtuse bisectrix, it is positive. If z is bisecting the acute angle between optic axis, ଆମେ ତାକୁ short form ରେ କହନ୍ତି z bxa ବା z acute bisectrix ଯାହା ବି କହିପାରିବେ. This is same condition, x will be obtuse bisectrix, so both will indicate positive. In other case, when z will bisect the obtuse angle, that means z will be bxo and x will be bxa. This is the condition where the mineral is biaxially negative. So this is the negative condition, this is the positive condition. ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ଭୁଲିଗଲି କହିବାକୁ ଶୁଣନ୍ତୁ, ମୋର ଜେଡ୍ ଆକ୍ସିସ୍ ଡାଇରେକ୍ସନ ତୁମେ ଯେହେତୁ ସବୁଠାରୁ ଅଧିକ ରିଫ୍ରାକ୍ଟିଭ ଇଣ୍ଡେକ୍ସ ପାଉଛ, in that direction the velocity will be slowest. ତେଣୁ ତୁମେ ଯଦି स्मॉलेस्ट रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स डायरेक्शन तुम्हें पाउछ होउछ x, तो x डायरेक्शन तुम्हें फास्टेस्ट रे पाइबो। तो सबठो जो रेटा सबठो अधिक स्पीड ट्रैवल करतो सेटा x डायरेक्शन ट्रैवल करियो, एंड सबठो स्लो होची अलोंग z डायरेक्शन। तो z डायरेक्शन सबठो लो वेलोसिटी पाइबो, काने जो डायरेक्शन सबठो अधिक रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स से डायरेक्शन सबठो लेस वेलोसिटी।